Hello and welcome to the world of pride, and I am your host, the one and only Kippy Love. Precious Love is over here sleeping. It's kind of early in the morning. It's before 7 o'clock. Yeah, the alarm hasn't even gone off on my phone yet. Cat's behind the camera sleeping, and the woman's in bed sleeping. So, it sounds like I'm trying to whisper. It's because I am, But I'm just eating a dietary 1 gram of sugar Reese's peanut butter cup. But, I can't call it a Reese's peanut butter cup. It's just a chocolate peanut butter cup. Because it's, you have to watch my other video when it comes up. And I'm drinking my large cup of coffee. I'm up a little early because I got about 5:30 because my other half's alarm went off. I guess I usually, when I get up early in the morning, I get up about 3:30, 4:30 and go to work. So I'm already gone and at work by this time, by 5 o'clock. So I guess sometimes she has the alarm set. I guess for some reason we get up at 5:20. So she had the alarm go off and I got up and I tried to go back to sleep. And I was like, started thinking about today and my plans and everything for the next 3 or 4 days. So I couldn't sleep. I'm probably going to sleep on the way up there because I have an hour, 2 hour drive to the airport. But the main reason why I'm going is because I'm going to go see my family, mom, dad. I don't want to go see my sisters or any of the family relatives or I'm going to see friends of the family or anything like that. Because my mom's going to have a birthday party, I think Friday or Saturday, I'm not sure when. But anyway, my plans for my own personal gain is I'm going to be taking a trip around the neighborhood and around the old stomping ground. When I say my old neighborhood and my old stomping grounds, they're two different spots. Basically, my old neighborhood was where I lived, and then my friends that I used to have back then, and my little neighborhood stomping grounds, and then my stomping grounds when I got older and I moved out of my mom and dad's house and lived in the big city. Well, it was a big city to us, because it was about 15, 20 minutes away, and it was a lot more to do there than the old stomping ground. We had one city, well, let me give you a picture. Okay. Let's say I'm at my mom and dad's house, and I'm standing at our front driveway. If I went and looked this direction, I'd have to go, I don't remember how long it was, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20-minute drive this way. And if I kept going straight this way, I'd end up, there was a person on top of the hill that had a horse. That was my mom and dad's friend, and I used to go up there and pet the horse and feed the horse and everything. The house on top of the hill, that was like right above, where we lived. There was a hill, and there was an old white house, but it was like one of those creepy black houses, the haunted houses and stuff like that. And there was an old lady that lived there, and she had an old television, like an old 1930 or whatever television set. I mean, it was a little square TV with the circular thing, and she was watching Vincent Price. So that's a kind of a freaky type thing, But I just went there one time, just be snooping around and everything, and I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. She had some old artifacts and stuff like that. But anyway, if you go that direction to your left from the front of the driveway, and you keep going a ways out there, that was our Chippewa Hills Elementary School, and that's where I went to school. And it's kind of there was upstairs and downstairs. We had a lot of things out there that was cool to be cool, when you were in that school. In the back of school, we had a basketball court, volleyball had built this big kind of a slide, not a slide, but a rope thing where you would grab onto it and you would slide, you would fly down it on the rope and everything, and it was like big timber blocks or something like that, that they built, like, it was cool. I never rode it because, I guess I don't know if they ever got it working or not, but it was something that they built, I guess. Maybe they did, when school was in session, maybe they had to rescue people or something like that, because, it was out there in the country and woods and everything, so they probably used it for, like, firefighting or fire prevention or something, I don't know. But it had upstairs and downstairs to the school. That's about all I really remember. Now, I remember that we used to have carnivals there, and my favorite thing was when we had the carnival, they had an old car that somebody would bring in, and for like $1 or something like that, you got to hit the car like 2 or 3 times. And you could take all your aggressions for the whole year out on that car. I'd go up there and be like, take $5 with me so I could just beat the heck out of the car. It was funny, and most times by the time you got there and you got, all the good shots were gone, the windshield, the side glasses, some of that. So I'd pick the blinker light, or I'd pick the door handle, something like nobody would think about doing, because everybody was trying to get the main things, and I would just get the little things that nobody would ever touch, like let me hit the antenna, and it's just kind of crazy. But that's all I remember about that. Now, if you took a right from the school and went that way, that was like Wademan, the town Wademan, and it was a pretty cool little town. It was a lot smaller than the big town that where my old stomping ground was. And if you went further north from that area, I think there was Fargo and Clare and other cities up there, and up there towards Fargo, they had it was sort of like a little nature place. They had a little building where you could go in there and it would show you all the wildlife, animals, and some of the trails and stuff like that. And I think they had some trails and stuff like that. You could go on and up. And so that was just a small little thing up there. But that's about all I remember in that direction. Now, if we went to the right a little bit and then took one of the main roads that went through that area, I think it was called High Street, if I'm not mistaken. And if you went out that way behind us toward that direction, that was Remus. And Remus, I can't remember, there's another one out there, I think Barrington or something like that, I'm not sure. But Remus was out that way. And there was another town over there, and that's where another school was, I think, or a high school out there, or elementary school or something out that direction. And we used to play baseball that direction. There was a baseball field out there. That's where we played baseball. I was one of the best players on the team, though. I just want to let you know, I was one of the best players on the team. I had the most important job, I wasn't like the big slugger, and making home runs and stuff. I wasn't the best pitcher and catcher and outfielder and all that stuff, where I'd score the good scores, tag your ass out and catch the fly balls and stuff like that. But I was the more important player, I was the one that kept the seat warm for all the rest of the losers when they came in. Yeah, right. But I wasn't really good in sports, I didn't play very good on football. I didn't do good on basketball. I could shoot, but I wasn't very coordinated. Baseball, like I said, I wasn't very good. I could throw, but it was like, hey, I'm way over here, I'm way over here, I'm way over here, not right here in front of me, not what my dad said. We played baseball one time, he was like, I'm not over there, I'm not over there, I'm not over there, up there, I'm right here, but, that's kind of like how good of a player I was, Now, I could hit a golf ball real good, but I just couldn't would make it go where I wanted to go. I was a good bowler. You know, I could do good on bowling and stuff like that, but I wasn't a professional. You know, I wish I would have, knowing how big the games are nowadays. You can make $100,000 or $1 million a game or something like that when you get into professional league and stuff like that. But as far as, you know, being able to do a 300 or get the best score, no, I wasn't that good. You know, I think the best score I ever got was when we had our daughter years ago, before we lost custody of her, and I haven't seen her in a while, so it would be nice to see her one day, but you know, I'm gonna go with my friend, you know. It's a personal issue. But anyway, but I'm not gonna say anything. But anyway, you know, I think the best game I had was when we had her bowling one time with us, and they can pop up the gutter balls on both sides, or the gutter lanes on both sides, and there's no way you're not going to hit the pin unless if you miss the, you know, if you're knocking that area down and you go down that same area. But that was my favorite sport, you know, because I could bowl left-handed, right. I don't even know what direction I'm going in. I'd bowl like this, I'd bowl like this, sideways, spin the ball, you know, I tried to be creative, but I wasn't that good. You know, like I said, I wasn't professional. But then if we went to the right, out that direction, well, not really that direction. I mean, there was a way to get out there. I forget what was out there. I know there was an old friend I used to know that lived on the farm. She was a nice girl and everything. She lived on the farm over that. That's the only thing I remember that way. Now we went towards the town, Pleasant. We went that direction, and about halfway up in that direction, there was a main road that went through, and you had Wynn, and you had, I forget what the city was over here, but if you went that direction, it was called Wynn, and that was where one of my mom's friends lived, and we would go to their house a couple times, and it was kind of cool because they had a basement, and that was the play area, and I don't know if the kids lived down there, but you know, we would all go down there while the rest of the family was upstairs enjoying stuff. And I remember they had a room in the back. I think they had a little kitchenette section there, and then they had a section at the other end where the TV and everything. So I guess that was where the kids' stomping grounds was, down there, you know. And I remember there was a video on the TV when I was there. It was like a cartoon story about a mouse. It wasn't really a story, it was just a segment of this show they were watching, and it had a mouse that was trying to escape a fire or something like that. That's all I remember, you know. I think he survived, but, you know, I can't remember. But that's all I really remember about Wynn. You know, it had a little city out there, and it was pretty nice, I guess. But just around our old stopping, not an old stopping ground, where my old neighborhood is, if I went, like, not too much up here, I don't remember too much as far as friends, neighbors up this direction, except for the man with the horse, you know. But if we went, like, right across the street, there was a big field. Sometimes they put corn, soy, and stuff like that, but, like, we went, like, kind of like in that fashion, sort of, not straight, but a little bit like that direction. That was where the Snows lived, and I think one of their son's name was Michael, and he was, I don't know what he's doing today, but at that time he wanted to be a rock star. He was going to play guitar and sing, or play drums or something, and he was going to be a rock star. I don't ever know what happened to him, but it was a big farm, you know, not too big farm, but it was a big farm, had a house and a big barn out in the back, and had big fields, and had some animals, cows, and livestock. And I remember I remember a little bit about the house. In the front of the house, there was a bedroom, then there was a living room and a kitchen in the back, and I don't remember the rest of the house, but that was where we mainly stayed, because his bedroom was in the front. And then we'd listen to, we had, one of the first things I remember when I was a kid was G.I. Joe. And it was like the Disney books, you know, where it would go ding ding, like that, and you turn the page, and it was a G.I. Joe story on record. And I that was one of my favorite things to do when I went to his house, you know, is listen to those book stories on record. But that's basically how I remember inside the house. Now the barn, that was amazing. I can remember the barn like it was today. You walk in the front part, the big doors, you walk in there, and there was like a section on one side, there was a section on the side, there was a back door that you could open up, and it was like, there was a drop, you know, a big drop, you know, I mean, you could jump off it, you probably hurt your ankle if you're not careful, but big drop. Underneath was where they had the livestock and stuff like that. And I remember we used to have a swing up there, you know, a rope we could swing on, and we climbed the rafters, and there was a box, like in the middle part, there was a box where you could open the door, and they would throw the hay down through the hole, so they wouldn't have to carry it down the steps. And the steps were like right there by the front, you know, when you first walked in the gate, I mean the big barn doors. There was a you know, a staircase that would go down underneath. Now underneath, you know, of course, there was a section of fencing and stuff like that where the animals would, we had to go down there once in a while and shovel it all up and clean it out. And then in the back, they had a bunch of big old field with hay bales and stuff like that. And I remember we used to go out there and shoot BBs at each other, like BB guns. And we'd have to put on those big padded snow pads and stuff like that, because if you hit the guy hit with a BB, I mean, we had those kind where you know, and then when you got too much power, hell man, that's it, it would sting so bad and everything. But anyway, you know, the barn was pretty cool. Then then you climb all the way up the rafters and get on the very top up there and walk around and stuff like that. And but I remember years later that barn burned down. You know, it burned down. I think they rebuilt it, but I'm not sure. But there was, I think there's another person that lived there, and he was a farmer, but he was into playing music too, and he had a big old guitar and something. I think when the barn burned down, he lost all that shit in the barn, but that's all I remember there. And then if we went right next door, we could walk through the woods of our house, and that was our, I forgot what their last name was, but it was like a family of 5 or 6 or 7, mom, and I think it was 5 brothers, if I can remember, Gail, Ronnie, Kyle, Corey, and Brett. Yeah, I think that's all their names. And Brett would babysit me because he was older. He was like in college or something. He would babysit me sometimes, so that was pretty fun. But Gail and Kyle were, I think, the main ones I'd play, you know, but because we played baseball and kickball. We were all on the baseball team, so baseball and kickball and football sometimes, and go out in the woods and play and build tree forts and different kind of things like that. Then the next house from them, they were a little bit more ritzy. You know, they were like the rich person in the neighborhood, because, you know, we drove down, it was a long driveway to their house, and they had their little pillars at the front of the house and stuff. I mean, it wasn't a mansion, but it was pretty, you know, elaborate for our little neighborhood, because everybody was like beat up old houses and shit, you know. I mean, you know, the parents kept up their house, but, you know, it was not the most, you know, nice little neighborhood, you know. Yeah, a trailer park right down the street, so it wasn't the best. But yeah, they had a nice house, big white house, you know, with the steeples and the, you know, it was pretty cool. But then there was a guy that lived at the end, and he was pretty cool dude, you know. He didn't have kids, but I remember I used to go out and do anything from selling candles and candies and doing those readathon, you know, pledge things a quarter per book I read and stuff like that. And he was always nice to me whenever I went down there to see if he'd buy something or pledge for me and stuff like that. He would most times, to help out. But then if we keep going to the right down that way, you cross the main road, and there was a little bar on the corner, and I wasn't supposed to be in there, but I would go in there and play the video games. They had one or two machines in there to play video games, and then if you took a left there was a grocery, like a little convenience store. You had a gas station, convenience store, and some people, whoever the owner was, they lived in the back of the house. And when, I knew the kid that lived there, he was one of the kids from our school, or he was a neighborhood kid or something like that, and sometimes his mom would let me go back there and we'd eat some lunch or something like that. We'd play and stuff like that. But I was kind of a bad boy. I would always, steal magazines from them, when I didn't have money. Like the bad magazines, like, the adult magazines. Store to store, but then from all behind the bar, the store was this big trailer park. I probably had maybe 100 trailers. I'm not sure exactly, but I know there was like maybe one or two kids there in that neighborhood that I used to play with and everything. I think, what was the one? Well, I think Tom was one of the kids. It wasn't the same friend I had in the stomping grounds in town, the main town, but it was a pretty cool little thing. But that was all about that I can remember in the neighborhood. Let's go look at the house where I used to live before I went to the big stomping grounds in town. My parents' house, I don't want to talk about too much about it, because I don't want to, their privacy and all that stuff. But it was, we had a nice little, backyard, front yard, and drive around, and driveway, and in the woods behind the house we had trails, and that's where we used to ride our bicycles and ride the lawnmower once in a while out there. We had our tree forts and the backwoods way in the back. We had 7 o'clock, and we had some dark woods. I called it the Black Forest of the dark woods because it was really dark back there. When you walked in there, it's like hardly any sunlight. We had a big tree fort out there. It wasn't a tree fort. It was more like on the ground, but we built it. It was almost like a tree fort. But I remember one year I was out climbing my big tree right at the beginning of the woods. There was like a telephone pole line that went through there, and it was always cut. You could go to all the back of the pathways into the back of other people's yards. It was like an alley in the city or something like that, a back alley or something like that to people's yards and stuff like that. But it was kind of cool back there. But I remember I was up in my tree one year, and it was pheasant hunting day, and some hunters were out there on the other side of the fence, and I was up there and I heard crack, and I was like, must have been a branch fell out of the tree, or a deer or something stepped on a branch or something like that, and all of a sudden, boom! And I didn't think anything of it, I didn't feel anything, but after a couple of minutes I was like, damn, I got a sap in my head, because I was in a pine tree, and I was like, damn, I got a sap in my head, and I was like, oh. And I looked down, and I had a BB went here, and I had a long sleeve shirt on, and it was all red and stuff like that, so I kind of freaked out and ran and went to the house. By the time I screamed and got down to the bottom of the tree, all the neighborhood kids had run over there to check on me, like, oh my gosh, what happened, But yeah, I got one BB. Probably can't see it today, but there's a little dot, a little scar dot on the arm here where the bullet, not bullet, the BB went into the muscle. And I guess it was so far inside the muscle, they didn't want to dig around the muscle in case it destroyed the muscle in some way. So I still have the BB in there. And sometimes when it's really cold or something like that, I can feel the BB in there. The other BB kind of went sort of like where your skull is. It kind of went underneath the skin of the skull and just was like right there. And all they did was cut a little hole and pulled the baby out, but it was up here at the top instead. But that was all it was there. I remember another time I was cutting grass, and you know, when you have snow and everything, you have to shovel off the driveway or use a lawnmower plow to push the snow. Sometimes you push it up and you get a mound of dirt all the way around the outside of the driveway. So one time I was trying to cut the grass and go over the top of this mound, and I used my foot to push up on the lawnmower, and my foot slipped off and the lawnmower came back down, and it, like, my toes, it kind of cut, I think it cut these two toes here, cut down to the ligament. So, they're okay now, but like I said, during that certain time of the year when it's cold, sometimes they'll hurt, when I use them and stuff like that. But that was all about that. As far as the backyard, we had a big hill. We'd slide down, and there was a big hill in the very back where the what do you call it, the electric poles went down through there. There was a big pole that would go down, big pole, big hill, and we could slide down there. There was a pond down there at the bottom, like a little swamp type thing, and sometimes we'd skate on it if we didn't fall in. But it always stunk because of it smelled crazy. It smelled whatever. It was like, I guess I had a lot of those, what do they call it, those marsh things, the pussy willows, those things that look like big corn dogs, But they were really fuzzy. Somebody told me one time you could cook them and eat them, but I never did. I did cook them, but I never ate them. Kind of like eating. I guess why they call them pussy willows, because they were like hair, almost taste like, or okay, ate one, or tried to eat one. That was like cat hair, almost like cat hair in your mouth. But the neighbor, there was a big lot over there, a big field, and we used to have, they had some hills over there and stuff like that. We used to go there and play, slide down the hills during the winter. They were the best. And sometimes when you're small, snow drifts are huge, but when you get bigger, it's like, where'd all the snow drifts go? This is crazy. I tried to dig in here and I could just stick my head in, but when you're a kid, and you can get your whole body inside there and have fun. And there was a tree over there, and I was a firebug then. I tried to make me a little camp out there one night and stay out there as late as I could, and then it was time to go home. And I did what I was supposed to do. I put dirt in the hole and tried to smother it, but I didn't remember that being, young and not very smart. It had a hole in the inside of the tree where it had been hollowed out by, I guess, years of age or maybe animal of some sort dug the hole out, and later on, like the next day or something, fire department went out there and put the tree out. Kind of burned our front yard too, a little bit. The fire truck had to come, but I had already put it out. But babysitter decided to call the fire department anyway. So my parents were like, "Did you know anything about the tree next door?" I was like, "No, not me. I wouldn't do that." They knew I did it. But anyway, inside the house, basement, I had my room down there, big old area down there for us to play, fireplace, and had a staircase, two staircases. You had a swirly staircase, then you had a regular staircase, and you had a garage, and top floor. We had 2 or 3 bedrooms up there, living room, kitchen, and all that stuff. And what's real cool is that at the beginning when we first moved there, we lived in the basement till my dad, whoever else, maybe helped him out, finish the top part. And then we basically moved upstairs, and we just used the bottom part as just a office down there, my bedroom. I had a bedroom upstairs, but later I moved downstairs because I wanted more room. I was kind of like not really nice, not really as nice as I could have been. It wasn't as sweet as I should have been to them, I guess. So I was living in the basement, which I liked because I had my own bathroom and my own room, and I could hang out down there with my own private world, but there was a refrigerator and all that, kitchenette and all that, stuff like that. My mom would sew down there and wash clothes, and Dad had his office down there. So yeah, it was, pretty cool little house. But it's been like 30 years. We got a big deck on the backyard and back porch, and my dad, he put like pine trees or logs on the house to make it look like a log house, and got solar power and all this other stuff. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see the house now, 30 years later, see what kind of improvements. They probably got a paved driveway and all this other stuff, So it's like, I don't remember if they had paved driveway back then, but I know that maybe they did have paved driveway. It's been so long ago. But anyway, that's the first part of the video, about the house and everything, and those, the neighborhood stomping grounds, basically. But anyway, that's my video. I'll have a awesome day and a perfect tomorrow.